people don't become individuals. They want to become like everybody else. They want to listen to what everyone else is doing, follow what everyone else is doing, because it's easier to fit in. From 17 to 24, I chased money. I went bankrupt when I was 24 because I was chasing money. And delivering your best and being your best self, you're always going to get paid. Whether it's now, it's later, whatever it is, you're always going to make money.
But it's so much easier making $100,000 working for somebody else than doing it on your own.
Yeah. You know, I literally had a $3 million lawsuit, like literally last year because of an employee, but I had to take personal responsibility. Like, that's my company. I had to own it. Like, it is what it is. Like, what am I going to do? You got to be adaptable to change.
Yeah.
Because for things to change, things need to change. For you to get level up and get to that next level, you got to stop doing the things you were doing. Now simplify everything.
Yep. Welcome back to the Revamp Podcast. Super excited. Got an awesome guest today. Awesome show for you. If you're new here, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Really helps the channel. Any questions you have, drop them in the comments, and me and Dan will get to all the questions. So with that, Dan, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it?
Let's see.
Dan Sachkowsky. Thank you so much for coming in, brother.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man. So, like we were talking before we started rolling, man, we've been friends on social media for a long time. We got a lot of mutual friends and all that. And I know that, you know, you're a high performer. And what I love to do is have other entrepreneurs on the show that are kind of at the top of their game and share their story and journey about what they do, how they got there and everything. And I knew you'd be a great guest for the show.
Awesome. Awesome.
Dude, so like, I know you're a builder, you're in construction, you're a motivational, inspirational coach, right? Like, you help other people and everything. But dude, bring us back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. Where did it all begin for you?
So I grew up humble beginnings, you know, with no forecast of ever being successful. I didn't come from a successful family. I mean, I love my family a lot, but they just didn't have the entrepreneurial like spirit nor the entrepreneurial mindset. And, you know, when I was young, I got introduced to the world of entrepreneurship. I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was 16.
Oh, yeah.
I went past Bon Jovi's house when I was 15 or 14, I don't remember. And, you know, I saw something that was bigger than life. For me, I was living in an apartment up until I was 14. So, you know, all I saw was this little space, this little place where we lived, and I thought that was life. But when you start seeing outside of the box and you start realizing that there's more potential out there and it's just not people on TV or whatever, and you know the possibilities are real, you start reading books, you start doing things, you start realizing that like all the shit that you're taught as a kid is kind of all bullshit. And you know, to follow the things that our parents say are cool, but our parents only follow what their parents said.
Right.
The problem is people don't become individuals. They want to become like everybody else. They want to listen to what everyone else is doing, follow what everyone else is doing, because it's easier to fit in.
Yeah. So
knowing that I was going to stand out, I was going to be different, I was going to, you know, probably piss a lot of people off. I just really want to be rich. I think at the bottom line is that when we're all young, we look at money as something that's tangible, and we look at money as something that's going to like kind of bring us a better life. And I chased money for many years. From 17 to 24, I chased money. I went bankrupt when I was 24. Because I was chasing money. And that was around like 2006 when the economy started to crash. So I was running a construction company. Things were good. All of a sudden, the phone stopped ringing. I didn't know that I couldn't spend $30,000 a month because one day it might not be there.
Yeah, right.
The whole time I was in business, I was making money. So I'd never understood the downside. So humbled me real quick knowing that, you know, chasing money, everything was gone. And everything I built up over the course of however many years it was, left me in a place where I still had to support my kids. I still had to support my family. What am I going to do? But the good thing is that my family's healthy. Everyone's safe. Everyone's good. Now I just have to find a vehicle to get us where we need to be. So now I started pursuing purpose. Money was an obstacle that I had to overcome because money was the vision. But now I make money secondary. And as long as I can deliver the right things, the right results, and bring value to the hour, money's always going to be there. And I think a lot of people don't understand that if you focus on being your best, doing your best, delivering your best, and being your best self, you're always going to get paid. Whether it's now, it's later, whatever it is, you're always going to make money.
Couldn't agree more.
So since the age of, I would say probably 25, I never focused on making money ever again. From that point moving forward, made millions of dollars because I was always bringing value to the table. I was always doing what I needed to do. Got involved in network marketing for a number of years, made millions of dollars there. Got back in construction, made millions of dollars there. Today, I do not own a construction company anymore. I just sold it on Friday.
No shit.
Yeah, 26 years in business. It's gone. And people ask me how I feel. I feel great. Because it's kind of like, you know, I gave birth to a child. The child was a grown adult and I was ready to let go. Over the last 5 years, I've been coaching people in the real estate construction, people who deal with the service-based businesses. I've been teaching them how to grow because one thing I found out, I tried to sell a company, I think it was like almost 7 years ago. And I realized I couldn't sell the company.
The construction company.
Yeah, a different company I had.
Okay.
I tried to sell it, and the problem was that I was the bottleneck. And if I sold the company and I went away, the company wouldn't be the company. So at that point, I knew I needed to pivot. So how do I transfer to make something grow? Because I've always known how to make money and build companies, but I never knew how to stand out of them.
Right.
So in the last 7 years, I haven't worked in my businesses. I've worked on my businesses, and I've been able to 5X my businesses like literally every single year by putting the right people in place, the right processes in place, the right systems in place. So I realized that this was a worldwide problem. This is everybody. So now I have to coach people on how to go out there and get out of their business so that their business could be, one day be sellable. Because I think we all have a dream as a business owner, like, oh, I would love to sell this one day. But if you are the business, you can't sell anything.
Right.
And
Most people don't build
that.
to sell. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And if you're not building to sell, you're kind of just like a glorified employee for the rest of your life.
Yeah, regardless of the company size, too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Shit.
So yeah, I have a lot of joy watching people over a 12-month period of time when I work with them, literally transition, pulling themselves out, buying time back, which is their most valuable asset.
Yep.
I think we're scared as people to pay other people for things that we can do.
Yep.
Not realizing that, you know, someone sending an email, someone taking a phone call, like that's a minimalist. That's a small job.
Yep.
If you're doing a minimal job and people who are getting minimum wage, like you're just an employee, you know? And if you can't pull yourself out of that and you're such a control freak, like you're going to be stuck for the rest of your life.
Dude, absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, let's go back to the 2006. You said you were like 24 in 2006 when you did the
kids,
bankruptcy.
24, yeah.
But when did you have your first kid?
I was 21.
21. Me too, brother. Me too.
He's 21
Started
now.
young. Yeah. God bless. God bless. So it's interesting hearing you say that, like, right after that, you kind of didn't even focus on the money aspect. You kind of started focusing on, you know, just delivering value and kind of abundance. Like you would I would imagine hearing that you would have told me that you went into fucking grind mode for a little bit after that to like dig out of a hole, but that's not really how.
No, my buddy was in construction. He called me up. He goes, hey, how about we get paid every time the phone rings? I'm like, bro, what are you smoking crack? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like calling me. He's like, hey, you know, I found this company and I saw this guy who was making 40 grand a month. I mean, this was literally as I was shutting my doors. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to be like totally naive to whatever's going on here. And I know that ignorance on fire makes a lot of money. So I'm going to be totally ignorant to what we're doing here. So what do I need to do? I had to put people in front of the opportunity. I remember my first month, I made $6,600. Dude, I went from 0 to 6,600.
Damn.
Then 6,600 to 12,000 and 12,000 to 15,000. It was just growing and growing and growing. Now you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in something where it's like, you have to just look at the opportunities. And I think that one door always closes because a greater one's about to open. And society looks at like, oh my God, I lost my business. Oh my God, I lost my house. Oh my God, I lost my job. Like, and they fucking paralyze themselves forever versus saying like, dude, that's like a wake up call. Like, go do something else. You have other opportunities. You're not stuck anymore. Yep. You lost your job, but for how long have you been saying you hate your fucking job? Well, now it's time to go do something because they just got rid of you because you wouldn't walk away, right?
Yep.
You lost your business that you couldn't stand that was literally stressing you to fuck out. Now go start something else. You know, it's like anything in life. People love to blame situations. I literally just talked about this last night on a podcast that I filmed that's coming out in a few weeks. I talked about how people want to blame the economy, want to blame life, want to blame their ex, want to blame their marriage, want to blame their employees, want to blame everything. You know, I literally had a $3 million lawsuit, like literally last year because of an employee, but I had to take personal responsibility. Like, that's my company. I had to own it. Like, it is what it is. Like, what am I going to do? Yeah, the guy fucked me over, but you know, he's a piece of shit. Like, at the end of the day, it's my company. I have to own it. I have to figure it out. No one else is going to figure it out for us.
Right.
And I think people expect, like, when they crawl up in a hole, someone's going to come pull them out. Nobody gives a fuck, dude. They're going to watch you die.
Yep. Yeah. Nah, dude, it's a lot of hard truths right there and everything. And, you know, the reality is most people don't like hard work, and they don't like hardship, and they don't like hard conversations, and everybody kind of wants that easy button, right?
Yeah. It takes time, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I think, like, as we grow through things, not go through things, and look at how certain things can impact us to be better. So many people look at a bad situation as a negative, not a positive. Mm-hmm. And if you start looking at, like, the situations that are going on in your life and kind of figure out, like, all right, what is this teaching me?
Yeah.
Versus why is this happening to me? Because we have this why syndrome, like, right? We always thank God when good things happen, but we don't thank Him when bad things happen. Why?
Absolutely.
Because we now feel the pressure.
Yep.
But that pressure is to release you, because if you're not ready to go to the next level, which is the test, you're not going to go there.
I love that, dude. How do you, and I agree, I've adopted that mindset a long time ago, and it's like a lot of people that are close to me think I'm fucking insane because something bad can be happening to me. I can be in the thick of it, and I'm like, there's kind of a silver lining to this, you know, because usually there is, and
100%.
you know, it's like there's a blessing to every single shitty thing that happens to you. And how do you think you came to that mindset? Because that's not something that people are, like, born with. It had to be something that happened to you over time that you're like,
I mean, it's sink or swim, right? So at the end of the day, like, we lost everything in 2006. My kids still got to fucking eat. So I'm going to sit here and complain about it, not do something about it. Like, dude, I'll sell lipstick if I can make $1 million. You know what I mean? That's the way I think. So I just think people don't look at the situation as, like, it's win or win.
yeah,
There's no loss in there. Like, you're going to win if you allow yourself to win. And the problem is when this pressure comes and these things come, people, like, you know, they crawl up into that place where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened to me again. But every single thing we've ever been through in our life, from childhood to now, we've gotten through. And if you actually look at the reality of what's happened to you over time, every situation has been worse and worse and worse and worse, because as you grow, the fall is deeper. As you grow, the fall is deeper. And people don't get that.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be stuck in a place where you are destined to be in this, like, great place. And if God believes that you've got a better place to be and a better place to go, He's going to put that test on you. If not, you know, you can just live this mediocre life where you complain for the rest of your life, well, you don't have enough money, well, you can't do this, and I can't do this, and I wish I wanted to do this. You know, that's the life you're going to live.
Yeah.
But I think as an entrepreneur, it's like, listen, bro, I could spend $30,000 today, but next week I might spend $3. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't know, but that's the life that we have to live. And this is the life that we've brought ourselves into.
Yeah.
You know, we're not accustomed to, like, okay, like, we make this much money every month, or here's how much money we can spend. You know, we're just like, hey, you know, we know how to live based on what we want to do. We have goals to get to a certain point. We get to those goals, we buy things, we do things.
Yep.
And then sometimes we got to cut back. Like, how many times as entrepreneurs, do we have to sell a car, sell a house, sell something because we needed the money, but the money was going to bring us to a better place. Now we could buy it again.
Yep.
You know, the average person can't think that way. Oh my God, I got to sell my car I've had for 20 years.
Right. It just seems like that's a form of failure, or that is like the ultimate end failure. Like, life is over if I get to that point. Dude, I was telling you before we started rolling, like, I don't care. You know, it's like when I bought this building and everything, actually, I just posted about it this morning, kind of. It's like I bought this building, and dude, right after, like, I ended up having to lay off a bunch of employees. It was kind of like a massive downward spiral I was in. Money sucked. I had a fucking Tesla Model X that I was so happy that I bought and everything. And after having it for like a year, I'm like, there were a couple other issues, but I was like, dude, I can sell this and, like, put 40 G's back in my pocket. Like, I'm selling it, you know? And, like, at the time, my wife and a couple of my buddies were like, oh man, that sucks. I'm like, no, it doesn't. This is helping me keep the lights on, keep payroll afloat and everything. Like, does it suck? Yeah, it sucks, but I'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm back and I'm happy and everything's crushing again now. It's all good.
And you learn,
there's seasons.
and you learn through that too. And you realize, like, you know, you bought the car because maybe it was cool and you could make some money on a car. But next time you're going to buy a car, now I'm going to buy a car that's going to be impactful. Now I see that you have the electric Hummer, right? So now it's a truck.
Yep.
So now you bought something that's electric that's not only cool, but at the same time, it's got a multi-purpose, right?
Yep.
And I think as we go through these things in life where we have to get rid of things and like kind of take a step back, we start reevaluating the choices that we make. So I'll give you an example. Like in my early 20s, you know, I was buying Escalades and all that stuff because that was the trend, right? I could buy an Escalade right now, but why do I want to spend $160,000 on a truck where I can buy a Tahoe, have the same truck, not give a shit?
Yep.
And people are like, oh, you should have bought an Escalade. Well, I mean, I could buy an Escalade, but I could take that other 100,000 or 60,000 or whatever the difference is, and I could use it somewhere else.
Yeah,
you know, we start
sense to you.
thinking different because we realize that, like, hey, we may have to get rid of this one day.
Yep.
So what's the path? Or, you know, we can afford this, but really, like, this is the same thing.
Right.
You know, and that's what people don't understand. Like, people desire to have like a logo or like a status versus the reality of being comfortable. That's me. Versus the reality of being comfortable and knowing that if you kind of like set yourself back a little bit, the next time you get a windstorm, it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know? $1,000 payment's better than a $2,000 payment. That's the way I look at it, you know?
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. Tell me your take on that, because a lot of people in the entrepreneurial world, or even just people that are in a sales position and everything, have this psychology of like, payments are good because payments are like the freaking necessity to go out there and hunt and kill and grind. And you made the point earlier of kids. It's like, to me, that's the ultimate motivator and fuel for me as well. But like, to somebody that doesn't have kids, that's in a sales role and they're 30 years old, it's like, dude, having a high car payment or a high mortgage payment or whatever, that does become the fuel to be like, oh, well, I can't rock back on my heels and, you know, take it easy. I got to go out there and hunt and kill.
Or reading books and saying, okay, you know, get a lesser car payment, put money away so that you can invest money and buy things and invest in things in your future is a little bit different, you know? So it depends about how you think about it. So yeah, money's a motivator, but if you're working to pay a payment because of a status, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a motivator just so they don't take your car, right? So I mean, I think that, hey, I can have a $500 car payment or $800 car payment, but still make the same amount of money as long as my goals are in line with what I'm trying to do. Versus, yes, a lot of young kids today, they want the nice car, they want the nice watch, they want the nice clothes, and they're working for status.
Right.
Because when they go out and they have the Louis Vuitton loafers on and they have this shirt, I'm like, fuck that, bro. Like, at the end of the day, for me, I'd rather have, if I'm going to work for payments, I'd rather have multiple payments on multiple things. Like, I'd rather have a boat, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a car, like all that versus the one car payment. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the value, because now you're being able to expand yourself.
Yep.
You know, but then being in a position years later where you can buy things cash and know, like, hey, life is a little bit different. I own all this stuff. And you start realizing the difference between liabilities and assets. You know, that's another thing is like, all right, you know, you just spent X amount of dollars on a car that you leased for $2,000 a month. Now you got to give it back. You just piss that money away.
Yep.
That's like these people that rent apartments, you know, because they want to be in the inner city. They want to be in New York City. They're spending $4,000 or $5,000 a month for a studio. What, for status?
It's a lot of money, dude.
Fuck that, bro.
Yeah. To each their own, right? I don't know.
But I think
it's
we
like,
all,
don't bitch about it.
We all did it. I think we all did it. Like I said, I had the
everybody
Escalade.
spends money on stupid shit.
I had the Escalades. I had the Mercedes AMG. I had all that stuff. And it just made the fall harder. So I said, next time around, if I can't buy it, I'm not buying it. And I mean, not if I can't make the payments, if I can't buy it. Like, if I can't physically write a check for something, I won't own it.
I like that. That's a good philosophy and everything. Do you think people can come to a level of like clarity without having a downfall?
I think possibly. I mean, there are some successful people who have a level of clarity that, you know, kind of coast through things. But I think when you have a downfall and you like kind of hit rock bottom, whatever that looks like for people, I think it just changes the whole dynamic of why you're living and why you're doing things. You know, I think people pursue things for certain reasons. And if that lifestyle is, something that's achievable and they can keep doing it and they never fall to their knees, they're always going to do that. But the day that they do fall to their knees, they're going to be like, wow, like some kind of reality is going to hit them in the back of their head and be like, all I was doing was this for this.
Yeah.
But now I need to do this for this. Now you start creating that purpose. Now you start creating, that place where you're driving for reasons. So I'll give you an example. I've been working for purpose, since 2007, driving after purpose. And for what I thought was purpose, did put money second, but then August 8th, 2022, I had a heart attack. Laying in that ambulance, thinking that you're about to die, thinking about all the things that you should have done, texting your kids that you think is the last time. All of this stuff really creates like a different thought process. And it makes a difference on why you believe that now. Hey, I walked out of the hospital. I'm fine. So I'm here for a different reason, and I just started being a servant more. My purpose, was there, but now being able to be a servant to help other people live their best life and be their best, because we never know when that last chance is. So again, like I hit rock bottom young. Then I had this heart episode, in my 30s. It's like reality checks, right? It's like, things happen to us. People get into car accidents, whatever it is. I feel like when you're going 10,000 miles per hour in a 100-mile-per-hour zone, like life kind of just smacks you in the face somehow, whatever happens to slow your ass down and get you back in check.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was. I was like on overdrive, bro. I was going all over the place. Yes, I was spending time with my kids. Yes, I was doing stuff. Like, yes, I was living a good life, but I was on overdrive, bro. I was like on crack, bro. Like I was out of control, just boom, 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 boom. That day just like literally settled me down. And it's like, bro, just slow down a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so much to give and so much to do. Like you can't accomplish it all in one day.
Right.
But that's what happens. Like we build ourselves up to a point where it's like, we're always on overdrive. And then, something happens, whether it's a life occurrence, a family member dies, a parent dies, whatever it is. It's like, shit, like how am I going to take this time off? Then you figure it out. Then you realize, wow, like, I could have been doing this so many other times, but I didn't because I got in my own head.
Yeah.
So those situations kind of like take us back a step and get us back in check.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. That's wild. It's powerful. And 3 years ago, a heart attack. So like, were you incredibly stressed out at the time on top of doing a million things?
Super stressed out, high blood pressure. I'm still on blood pressure meds now. It was a super, super hot day. I think it was like almost 90 degrees that day. I was actually with my daughter and we were outside and she's like, oh, can we stop at Wawa and get a soda? I'm like, yeah, we'll get a soda. And I don't really drink soda, so I don't think I even drank much water that day. So with the sugar and the heat and everything, dude, it just like came on and like I just felt numb, wrist to wrist. I was like, something is not right. And just like I said, I remember like the day, like it was yesterday, laying in that ambulance and just looking at the ceiling and trying to voice text my kids because I thought that was it. You don't know, bro. You know what I mean? They don't. The EMTs don't tell you nothing. Just relax.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta pee. I didn't pee myself, but you really take yourself back, and then like I spent like I don't know 2 or 3 days in the hospital. And, that whole time sitting there, it's just a lot of time for you to think, a lot of things going on, doctors coming in. It's so much. And you're like, wow, like I really got to like take a step back because, you don't know when your next time is.
Yeah, man.
And it's a check. Like I said, like it happens to all of us, some form of way.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, I can relate so deeply because I lost my dad to a heart attack 7 years ago now, and I was working with him that day. It was a hot day and everything, and it's like obviously my entire worldview changed after that also, right? It's like that's kind of when I feel that I started chasing like purpose, because I really didn't give a shit as much anymore about money. It's like everything that I was doing up until that point, you know, I was like, oh, I want to build wealth. I want to have financial freedom. I want to leave a legacy for my kids and everything. And then after that, it's like, yeah, dude, it's just life smacking you in the face of, you don't know if you're going to have another day on this earth. Exactly. Right. So, yeah, man, it's stuff like that really, really hits different and changes the entire way that you live your life and everything. And that being said, like for a lot of people, that probably puts them in a downward spiral and pushes them away from kind of even pursuing anything. Like I could have said at that point, like, dude, I'm just going to kind of rock back on my heels. And instead of kind of going a different path, a different route, I'm just going to do less of what I was already doing, you know, and that's not ultimately what I decided to do. So
yeah, people get fucked up. Like when people die, you know, whatever it is, they get paralyzed in the fact where they let themselves believe that, you know, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to them, and they're never going to get through it. So people don't realize that their subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and what they're thinking. But if they keep telling themselves, I'm never going to get through this, I'm never going to heal, it's never going to get better, it's never going to get better. Yeah. Because you're not going to allow yourself to heal. Yep. You're not going to allow yourself to go. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine who, his mom, like she lost a child like when he was young, and shittiest upbringing with the other kids for the rest of their lives, their childhoods, because all she talked about was the son that was lost. Yeah. You know, and at the end of the day, like, you have other people who are still here that need you. Yeah. Yes, you can mourn. Yes, you can be upset. But there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change it. So why are you making the people who are here today suffer for what happened yesterday? And these kids like literally like resent their mom because their mom only cared about the child that passed versus them. And they went on to do things, and the mom just lived this life and sat in this house and didn't do anything and didn't want to participate in life because God's a bad guy and did this and don't understand why he did this. Yeah. You know, I had a son not talk to me for 4 years. You know, and people are like, oh, it'll be fine. And at the end of the day, it sucks. It sucked. Yeah. But I have 2 other kids that depend on me, need me. Businesses. I have things. Like, I can't be like, all right, well, my kid's not talking to me, so I'm just going to shut life off. Yeah. Like, I had to keep going. As hard as it was to do things, have fun, and, you know, build this life without him, I knew that I had to do it because I couldn't allow him to dictate the future of my other kids. Right. I talk to him now, and, you know, he's participating in our lives. He's cool. We're spending time together, and, you know, we're united again. But at the same time, it's like he just came back when he was ready, and I don't really even know what happened during that time, and I'm not asking him about it. I did ask him, like, what made you come back? And he goes, I just felt like it was time. And that was it. You know, I'm just living day by day. And too many people like, well, I really want to know what happened. Like, let's talk about what happened. How was he feeling? I go, shit's over. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't want to talk about that. Yep. But people would literally do that. And what's that going to do? It's going to drive your kid out the door. He doesn't want to discuss it. He doesn't want to think about it. Why do you want to bring bad into good? Yeah. But this is what people do. Yeah. They always bring the bad stuff into the good parts of their life. This is why I tell people, like, you know, oftentimes when we spend time with our family, and, like, not for nothing, like, people will agree to disagree with this, but our family don't think the way we think. No. You're never going to have a house full of entrepreneurs. Mm-mm. So you're sitting in front of your family, you're trying to have a conversation. What are they talking about? This person, that person, what used to be, what used to have, how life used to be. And you're just like, why the fuck am I here? Yeah, it's not, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not that you don't love your family. It's that you can't have a conversation with them because you don't see eye to eye based on the future. Right. Why are we talking about the past? It's over. But because we don't have an ideal vision on what we want for our future, all we have to do is talk about what used to happen and how things used to be. So when you start changing your association and start making your family people that aren't blood and people who are, you know, living on the same level and frequency as you, you know, things start to be different. Conversations start to be different. You start talking about a common future. Yep. And then you just see this whole different side of life. Like, I mean, if my family does events, I'll go, but I won't be there for a whole day. You know what I mean? Like, I'll show up. Yeah. But if I'm going to be able to go somewhere where there's going to be a whole bunch of entrepreneurs or do something or go to like a birthday party, I'm probably going to go to where all the entrepreneurs are. Why? Because that's going to build and bring value into my future, no?
Yeah.
Versus, oh, I can't believe like you missed your niece's birthday party.
Yep.
You know, my niece just wants the card. You know what I mean?
True. Very true, man.
She's gonna hang out with her friends. She's not gonna talk to me. You know what I mean? Like kids are too cool to talk to their.
That's okay. I can accept that.
Yeah,
I can accept that. You know.
And that's what people never understood. I've missed weddings. I've missed funerals. I've missed things because I had things to do with my business. You know, and I don't go to funerals. Like this is sad to say, but I really don't go to funerals. And the reason why I don't go to funerals is number one, if I hadn't talked to you in the last 12 to 24 months. I mean, yeah, I could pay my respect. That's fine. But what am I going to do? I'm going to go there. Everyone's going to be laughing, cracking up, talking about this, talking about that. Like, that's not cool. Like, I'll go visit you at your grave, you know what I mean? And I'll pray for you. I'll do what I got to do. Like, we didn't have a relationship. You're not my brother, sister, father, like whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I truly have this value where it's like people go to a funeral to pay respect because they want to be like, oh, I paid my respect. But if there was really respect, like, where's the connection in the last 24 months?
Yeah.
Where's the conversation in the last 20? That's the way I feel about it.
I totally
and
understand.
people think I'm crazy, but I said, listen, I don't want people at my funeral. If I haven't talked to you in the last 12 months and you have nothing and you were only around when it benefited you, don't show up.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Yeah.
You know why? To say what? Oh, he was a good guy?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I think the entire topic around just like mental toughness as an entrepreneur is so fucking important because, dude, everybody's life is hard in some way, shape, or form. Everybody deals with crap. Everybody deals with hardship. But I think it's exponentially harder for entrepreneurs. And we kind of do it to ourselves, you know, but like we don't have an easy path, dude.
No, we hit the red line every day.
Every single day. You know, and as soon as things are good, we're usually also can kind of make a blanket statement here. Like we're usually arsonists, you know, as soon as everything is good and sweet and cash is flowing in a business, we're like, cool, what else can I do? You know?
And a lot of times entrepreneurs self-sabotage themselves, you know, in a place where it's like you work so hard to get somewhere. And once you finally arrive, you stop working.
Yeah.
Now it's like, all right, you're back to square one. Every time you get ahead, now you fall behind. And that's like a big pivot point in entrepreneurship where it's like, once you learn that you got to hit that steady button and continue to grow in that steady pace, things start to change. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this cycle where they make a bunch of money, lose a bunch of money, make a bunch of money, lose a bunch of money. And until they become like, all right, well, listen, I got to like learn how to navigate myself through troubled waters, but at the same time, when the waters are calm, keep the pace, you know, and stop hitting the brake.
Yeah.
That's when life changes a lot. And outside of that, you know, how many times do people say we're lucky? Oh, you're lucky. Look at what you have. Look at what you do. Look at where you go. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, listen, I would feel lucky if I got off of work at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I would feel lucky if like Saturdays and Sundays were something to look forward to. I mean, we look forward to whatever we look forward to, but we still have responsibilities and we still know where we have to be on Monday. We still have things that are spiraling through those weekends. And 4 o'clock sometimes for an entrepreneur is lunchtime.
Yeah, dude. Yep.
You know, and they don't get that. But it's like, oh, it must be nice to have this. Oh, it must be nice to have that. Oh, I don't make enough money. Can I make more money? You know, and this is where we're having this biggest problem in the States today is that, you know, everybody wants to show up for $1, but nobody wants to show up.
Yeah, man.
And nobody wants to work anymore.
Absolutely.
You know, like it's not cheap to live.
Yep.
But it also costs to make money.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand.
Well, I think people just fundamentally don't understand value and what it really means to make $1.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think it's so different. Like, I think it's probably easier to, I'm going to mess this up, but like working for an employer and making $100,000 versus trying to go out and make $100,000 on your own. Making that $100,000 on your own is infinitely harder to a point, right? Like once you have everything ironed out, now you can scale to the moon and there's no kind of glass ceiling. But it's so much easier making $100,000 working for somebody else than doing it on your own.
Yeah.
You know? And people don't want to work.
I totally agree. And then like sometimes that $100,000 isn't even enough. You know, it's where it's like, hey, you know, you've been doing the same thing for the last 3 years, and you've been getting paid the same, but you want, the economy is a little bit more expensive. The cost of living is more expensive. Well, what have you changed? How have you grown? What kind of value have you brought extra? What's, you know, the results that have been able to increase in the last 3 years? Just because the economy changes, but you don't change, that doesn't mean anything. You know, people don't understand, because the economy is changing and it's getting more expensive to live. Essentially, if you're doing the same thing you're doing 3 years ago, we should actually cut your pay because you're not growing in the times.
No, right? Can't do that. Can't do that.
But that's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're not growing and bringing more value to a company, why should you expect more when in turn you should expect less? Because you're supposed to always build yourself up to your pay scale and always present yourself to be delivering more than you're getting paid for. Therefore, you can always be the one to expect to get something bonusful in turn.
Right. Yep.
But if you're just kind of maxing yourself out to that pivot point of where you need to be, which most people do, they give the minimum to get the maximum.
Absolutely.
But then it's like the whole world's in trouble, and whose fault is it? You know?
The business owners. It's the business
I
owners.
remember when fuel went up to like $4 or $5 during COVID, right? And it's like, you know, I had employees working for me, like the guys would like have their trucks going to work or whatever. Bro, like fuel's 2 times the cost. Okay. So I got to pay you more money a week because fuel's more expensive? Yeah. Okay, well, can you work a little bit harder and get things done sooner? That way I could bring in more money to pay you more money? What do you mean? Well, what do you think? I could just go to the customer and be like, hey, fuel's more expensive. You think you can pay us more? It doesn't work like that. Like, we're all in a financial crisis right now, and we all have to figure it out. But the employee almost feels like they're entitled to something when we're like, hey, like, we would help you out if you actually came and you were the one who was pushing, doing more, you know, delivering more. So there were certain guys that I gave them a little bit extra, you know what I mean, based on that, but it wasn't the guy that asked. It was the guys who didn't. Naturally. Because that's always how it is. The guy who always asks for more money doesn't deserve it.
Well, yeah, he's usually the one that, you know, is probably just barely doing the bare minimum.
100%.
Yeah. So you mentioned after 2006, you did some network marketing stuff too. What was that like? And what were your learning experiences from that?
So I was already reading books and I was already involved in personal development early on in life, but getting involved in network marketing actually took my personal development to the next level. It allowed me to meet people, meet speakers, and you know, just really see a whole different side of life. I think the perception of network marketing for most companies is lifestyle, and they promote lifestyle, the cars, the houses, of this, and you know, that's the top 1%. But at the same time, I think a lot of the companies do a good job by paying some of the right speakers to come there and teach you, you know, what it is. Maybe the values don't line up, but they're getting the right people, you know, to deliver the information. So network marketing showed me how to read people better, build a team better, you know, literally like work relentlessly, because you're working relentlessly 7 days a week doing that shit, you know, and if you're making 20 grand a month and you're not doing what you were doing last month, you weren't making 20 grand a month, because the whole residual factor is straight up bullshit. I mean, listen, I still get paid from a company today that I haven't done since 2014, but you're talking like very minimum. But I'm not making $20,000 a month.
Right,
you know,
right,
but
right.
they sell this bullshit dream. And I think that if you stay in network marketing long enough, it's so cultish, a lot of companies, that you start believing the bullshit that you tell everybody.
Right.
So after 5 years in one company, I saw behind the curtain. Listen, I made a lot of money. I did what I had to do. But it's like when people start coming up to you and start saying, like, you really think I'm going to make it? You know, 1 out of 100 do. You know, what do you keep saying? Yeah, I mean, just do this, just do this. And you're just like, no, probably not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the reality. And then you see where you're at, and you see the leaders who are above you, and you see, you know, for the last 5 years, you guys sold this dream of working hard for 5 years and never working another day in your life. 5 years later, you guys are still working just as hard, if not harder.
Yep.
You know, so it creates great leadership. It creates good personal development. You meet great people. That's why I know tens of thousands of people that were in my organization. I'll be places, dude, I'll be in another state and people be like, yo, Dan, I'll be like, what's up? Oh, I was in your business. I was in your downline. I was here. I was like, that's cool. Like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Because you don't know all these people, but they know who you are from the magazines, from the videos, from whatever, you know? But it really shows you like the world of like, that's not entrepreneurship. I don't think. You're working your ass off for a company to stay alive. And you're doing stuff and you're working, dude.
Yeah.
If you're making 40 grand a month in network marketing, believe me, you're working for 40 grand a month.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think as a business owner and an entrepreneur, having the right vehicles, you can make the same amount of money with a lot less stress without dealing with so many people, because the churn rate, you know, every single month, a new group. I mean, we're getting in front of hundreds of people a month.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, holy shit. You know, but when you're in a business, it's like you can make $40,000 in a business, get in front of 10 people a year.
Yeah, right.
You know, so you got to fight your battles and understand. But it helped me during the time I needed the most help to make the money I needed to make. But at the same time, I could never do it for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And when you look at the average person who does network marketing, they all do it part-time. And they only do it because they like the camaraderie and they're not even making money. They're just going to the events or doing this or doing that. And they just like being around these people. But the people who are doing it, which are the small 1% to 5% that are making it big, it's full-time for them.
Yep.
And they just happen to be the one.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I mean, you said a key word in there, the average people that are doing it, right?
Yeah.
It's like the average people in anything aren't the ones that are going to put in the extra effort and everything. That they're okay with being average. I just heard a good quote the other day. I think it was Hormozy, but it was basically like, you know, how can you expect to have exceptional results without being the exception?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to fucking be like everyone else.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, holy crap. That
That's
makes a
what I
lot of
always
sense.
tell people.
Right?
Like, you know, you have ordinary people, but only a few are extraordinary. What those do, they put in the extra in front of ordinary, extraordinary, right?
Yep.
But I think a lot of times, you know, the whole average side of life is that the problem is back to what we talked about earlier. Growing up, we're taught, go to high school, go to college, get a job. Our parents were taught, go to high school, go to college, get a job. Their parents were taught, go to school, work in a factory.
Yeah.
Their parents were taught, you know, figure it out. You know, so basically down the line, it's the same thing over and over again. I hope that most people today aren't telling their kids to go to college.
Yeah.
Because college is a fucking waste of money and a waste of time, and it isn't going to do nothing. You can learn so much more not going to college, and you're just literally paying. This is why universities are closing. This is why universities are struggling, because it's starting to open people's eyes like, bro, this much money to go to school for a year. Why? For what? You know, like people are literally paying more to go to school than they're going to pay for a house or for a car or for whatever. For what?
Yep.
I told my kids, like, you're not going to be a doctor, lawyer, or accountant. You're not going to college.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're paying for it. Because I'm not paying for it.
Absolutely.
I literally just like walked out of high school.
Yeah.
But I got taught for 12 years, for 12,000 hours, how to be average by average people.
It's indoctrination.
I didn't learn how to be above average till I started reading the books that the average person wouldn't read. Participating in the CDs that the average person wouldn't listen to.
Yep.
You know, back then we were watching DVDs, you know, like VHS, whatever it was, of certain speakers. You know, I remember Les Brown on VHS.
Hell yeah.
And that shit, most people won't do.
Yep.
You know, I was talking to a guy before. He's like, you watch Yellowstone? I go, dude, I don't watch TV. I mean, I think I got like 14 TVs in my house, and I don't watch TV at all. Because I don't have time to watch TV.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing something, I'm reading, I'm educating. But by the time I'm done, I go from 8 to faint. I wake up early. By the time I sit down, I ain't got time to watch. My brain is shutting off because my brain, as soon as I relax or I'm not working, that's why I hate like rainy days, like where like you can't go outside and do something. But I'm like, I don't want to lay here. I'll be like work out for 2 hours. I'll do something. I'll try to figure something out because if I'm not moving, I'm out. I can't watch TV. My brain doesn't function that way. But that's been a conditional thing that I've done over the years. Yes, I used to watch a little bit of TV, but now I don't watch any.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, like, that's conditioning. You know, I know how my body needs to react. I know what I need to react to, and I know the steps I need to take every day to be the best I can. And TV isn't a part of it.
Based on everything you just said, I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be to this, but what do you think about the word balance?
There's no such thing. It depends on the time. It depends on the situation. It depends what you're trying to do on how you can balance things, but they're going to be perfectly imbalanced based on how you schedule them, based on how you put your time into them. And, you know, it's like focus, right? I just think you need to be present. If you're going to be working, be present. You're going to be with your family, be present. You're going to be with your significant other, be present. You're going to throw a ball with your kids, be present. Like, be present for the time you can be present for, and let your family know, or whoever it is, that whatever you're doing, like, this is my time to do this. This is my time to do that. Like, when I work out, I work out. I'm not on the phone. Even though the gym might be at my house, I'm still not on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, that's my time to do that. Like,
being intentional.
I don't even go on my phone until probably 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, I get my entire day going, up and ready, done. And then I know that, hey, my focus is here and I'm not distracted.
Yeah.
You know, and now with the phone, the way phones are today, I think being balanced has become way more out of stretch because people don't know how to unfocus themselves from their phone. Everything they're doing, they'll run.
Very true.
They'll run to the table if their phone's going off, but they won't be quick to answer a question if you ask them one.
Yep.
So this is a problem. But balancing doesn't work. It's just being able to set yourself right and make sure that you're in the moment for the things that you need to be for at that certain time, and you're not getting distracted by outside noise.
I love that. Dude, I hate the word balance. Like, I've had so many people, and the worst was always like my wife, dude, such a great supporter and everything. Like, she is probably one of the biggest reasons that I'm successful is because she supports me so well in everything that I do. But she had friends like earlier on, like in my entrepreneurial journey, that would always kind of give her shit. Like, oh, your husband's always working. He's always doing stuff. Like, you know, doesn't that bother you and everything? And she's like, nah, it's cool. But still, it's in the back of her mind because her friends are harping on it all the time. You know, it's like, I don't fucking believe in balance. I believe in, like, if I set out to do something, I'm going to do everything that I have to get it accomplished. You know?
Now your wife's spending time with other entrepreneurs' wives, different group of friends, thinking differently. They all have the same conversations now. Again, so it's the old conversation of, look what we used to do. Look how things used to be. Look at him. He's out there doing all this stuff. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. But you start migrating towards that life that you want, that life you deserve. Now the conversations start to change. You know, so like the people I spend my time with, we all have the same conversations, whether it's the women, it's the men, it's the kids. They always know grind, and that's all my kids know. But my kids always knew that when I was working and doing something, I was doing it for a reason. Like, hey, I'm not working to stay busy. I'm working because maybe you guys want to go on vacation, because maybe you guys want to, you know, have a boat or whatever it is. I'm working towards the goal. And I always wrapped my kids into that. What I was doing, why I was doing it, and what it was going to take to get there.
I love that. I love that, dude. And that's another thing for me that, you know, it's my wife kind of creates the balance for us. Like when I was hands-on on a lot of the flips or renovations that I was doing for a couple years. Dude, you know, there were a lot of weeks that I would work 100 hours a week easy, like 7 days a week. I'm fucking grinding. And she would bring the kids to the projects and we'd like eat lunch or dinner together at the job site. You know, it's like she created that balance, you know, but
you just have to have a fine line. And I think that when you start to understand like what your life is, because we're all here for a certain reason and we know what our day-to-day is. And once you get that in check and you understand what it is, all that outside noise, as long as you let it, will shut off.
It's noise, yeah.
But people want to keep that noise because they're scared to let go.
Yeah.
But letting go of the haters and letting go of the bullshit, once you do that, like you're just, the weight's gone and you're just like in this different place and the conversations are different. The lifestyle is different. Everything is just so much different.
Hell yeah, man.
You know?
Talk to me about, as you were growing, scaling your company and everything, who were the people that you were looking up to, mentors of yours, coaches of yours, or were you kind of just figuring everything out on your own as you went?
No. So for years I've had business coaches. I started off in my early 20s paying people $20,000 a year. Now I pay $100,000 a year for my business coach. And people can't fathom that.
Yeah, I know.
You pay how much? And I'm like, dude, like, I mean, if you start at 10 and you were, let's say you were making $50,000 a year and you start at 10 and your coach taught you how to make $300,000 a year. Now you go to 20, now you make $600,000 a year. And you just take a portion of your income and you put it back into yourself.
Yep.
When you're making $1 million a year, yeah, you can afford 100,000 because now that you're going to make $3 million a year. But people always look at the price tag and the high level. They don't look at the start
value.
and they don't look at the starting line.
Right.
Like we all start somewhere.
Yep.
So I've had a coach every single step of the way and mentors. And I think a lot of times too, when you pay less money to a mentor or a coach, you kind of don't respect them.
Absolutely.
And you don't listen to them.
Absolutely.
Because you're just like, whatever, you know what I mean? But when you start paying dividends of $40, $50, $60, $70,000 to someone, you're like, fuck, I better pay attention.
Yep.
You know, because that money's valuable. And if other people are being, you know, the project of this individual and you're seeing scalable results, the only problem is going to be you.
Yeah.
So I just always like to take myself out of the way because I know that like my business and what I see is what I see. If I could bring in an outside source that's got more value to bring to me, let them evaluate where I am. How can I shift it? And then you outgrow these people and they push you on. A good coach, like so when I coach someone, once I'm done with them, I'm like, yo, you need next level. You know, or hey, we can go another year, whatever it is. But a good coach will push you off and be like, hey, you're ready. You know, a bad coach will want you to pay him. That's like a $10,000 coach. They're going to pay you $10,000 for the next 10 years because they're just feeding off of you for a lifestyle.
Right.
For me, I want you to graduate. I want you to not need me. I want you to exceed me.
I love that.
And that's where I want to see it because that's where the value is. That's where you get the best results. That's where you get people saying, bro, you got to hire Dan. Bro, you got to hire Mike. You got to hire whoever. And it's because of that leash being taken off and you just let out into the free world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man.
So by being able to put like processes and systems in my company and not understanding them, listen, I'm the most untech person. So people said CRM to me for the first time. I'm like, what? I was a paper and pen and vanilla folder kind of guy. All of our projects were in a folder in a filing cabinet. Now it's like we don't even have a filing cabinet. You know what I mean? Everything is digitally online.
You did adopt it.
After it's uploaded, it's shredded.
Yep.
You know, and it's just like it's a different world.
Yeah.
But I think what happens, and you know, a lot of coaches is so do I, is you got to be adaptable to change.
Yeah.
Because for things to change, things need to change. For you to level up and get to that next level, you got to stop doing the things you were doing. Now simplify everything.
Yep.
How much harder is it to look through a file for a check, for an invoice, versus like online click, invoice. Oh, there's the name of it. Click.
Yeah.
2 seconds versus 15 minutes. So you're saving on labor. You're saving on frustration. You went past it 3 times, right? So these are things I never knew because I grew up in this paper, pen, folder era.
Yeah. Yep.
But that was one of the things, like you can't sell a company with envelopes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everyone, hey, send me your CRM. Hey, let me log into your CRM. I'm like, what? What is that? You know, I didn't know what that was.
Business management system. What? Like, yeah, man. And I think that you got to have foresight and you kind of have to be self-aware too. So like when I was building my wholesale company, dude, like I'm ADHD like a motherfucker, right? Like I not only operate in chaos, I thrive in chaos, right? So I wouldn't have needed a system if I wanted to be a solopreneur, right? Like I could go out and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year myself without even having a spreadsheet, you know what I mean? But I also knew that like most normal sane people don't operate like me. Their brains don't work like me. So yeah, I gotta build a system. I gotta build a CRM, which was the hardest thing for me to do because as I'm doing this, I'm building it out with like developers and everything. I'm like, I don't even fucking need this, man. I don't need this.
But everyone else does.
Everyone else does. So it had to be done. And, you know, got it done. And then everything got better.
It takes away from drawing on a board.
Yeah.
You know, we used to have the boards on the wall. We used to have all this stuff. Now everything basically has I will say that I haven't taken everything digital. So I do not believe in a digital calendar.
Okay.
Here's why. I still have a paper daily planner, like your journal, right there. Reason why? I flipped that book open. Like I scheduled 3 podcasts today. People are like, hey, are you available this day? Now I got to check every day, see what's going on, check my Google Calendar, do all that. Hold on one second. Open up to the whole week. Yeah, I'm good. Just this and this. You know, and then I can flip back because they have 3 days they give me. I don't have to like flip through all these different days and look at my calendar.
Yep.
But what I like about it is the self-accomplishment. Like I've done everything in my day. I checked it all off. I went through it. And if I have notes and I can always visualize back, if you have it on a digital calendar, you kind of don't remember when you did it unless it's color coded.
Fair. Yeah.
Like under a certain title. But then how many things do you have to click to see what day it was versus having a reminder? So I like being able to open up the 7 days and seeing everything that I need to do. Bro, even like something as small as a doctor appointment is like booked way out where it's like, you'll be somewhere. All right, you know, what are you doing on October, whatever, 5th? I don't know. I got my planner. Hold on one second.
Hell
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Hell yeah.
So I really adapt that. It's been the biggest thing. I still have my first planner from like 2000.
Really?
I have a planner from every year.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I live out of it. And I just hope they never stop making them.
I mean, that is a real risk. Like, you know,
Yeah. Like I got your reminder on the way here, like 30-minute reminder.
Yeah.
But again, think about Google. Like you only get a 30-minute reminder. You don't get a 3-day ahead reminder unless you send out a text.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
But I knew what I
it,
was doing all week.
Yeah.
And I hit you up yesterday, bro. Do I need anything? Like
Yep.
I didn't have to wait through. Oh shit! I got a podcast in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm
30
2
minutes,
hours
30
away.
minutes.
You know what I mean?
Shit,
Like,
actually, you should have got one 24 hours
I got
before,
a text message. I didn't
Just
get
the
a
30
reminder.
minutes, not 24 hours before?
No, I got a text message
Oh, okay.
24 hours before, and I got a Google reminder 30 minutes before.
Gotcha.
You know the Google calendars, like your appointments in 30 minutes.
Yep.
So,
Gotcha. Technology, man.
but I always make my clients get a paper planner.
Okay.
And I said, listen, if you want to switch it to digital after we're done, that's fine. But I just want you to see how organized you're going to be with a paper planner. Because the paper planner has what you need to do, notes of improvement, what's coming. And you have it all right there on a piece of paper. And it helps like the beginning person be more structured.
That makes sense.
And they just carry it everywhere you go. It's like a briefcase. Like, you know what I mean? And they make them small. You don't need a big one.
Yeah.
You know, but
makes
like
total
that's
sense.
something I truly like. I fight with everyone. They're like, oh, bro. I'm like, no, I'm not using a phone. Like that's not what I do. That's not how I operate. If there's one thing I need, it's my paper planner. Everything else can be automated. I don't
funny,
give a
dude.
shit.
That's funny. I'd fight you to the death on that. I wouldn't do it because for me, I'm so bad with scheduling anything. My assistant does all of it, dude. Everything. Like I don't know my own schedule. You know, if you didn't text me yesterday or message me yesterday, I wouldn't have known until I came in this morning and my assistant kind of ran through my day with me ahead, you know?
See, I'm
so
super
bad.
anal knowing my whole week.
Okay.
Like, so I like on Sunday, I'll open up my book and I say, I'll know now my forecasted week, what I need to do.
Gotcha.
Always. So it's like if there's any interruption and someone wants to meet or a coaching client wants to like talk to me or something, like I could just kind of be like, yeah, I have Calendly, I have all that, but I just got to be like,
That's not how you run your life though.
Yeah. For me, it doesn't operate because it's too many things syncing and how many times have I had an appointment with someone on Calendly and they forgot?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, but no one's ever missed my call because it's been my planner.
Right.
So it's how people operate. And again, you operate that way. I don't have an assistant to do that stuff for me. I probably should, but I don't want to talk to someone. I want to figure out. It's not hard for me to figure out my schedule.
Yep.
And it's very minimum task. And for me, it's more controllable because I know the hours I want to work in a week, which is 20 max. So I know where my calendar lays.
There you go.
You know?
Hell yeah, dude. It's funny. Like one of the first things that like a mentor that I hired years ago, like pushed on me was you got to get an assistant and everything. And with all the stuff that I had going on, I was like, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But it was a tough pill to swallow, right? It's a big salary and there's no real revenue generation realized as a result of it. Yeah. But, you know, the result was obviously, dude, it freed up so much of my time, like doing all these tasks that I was previously wasting time on, you know.
If I did get one, I would get a VA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For them to do everything and then call me to make sure I go to my appointments and stuff.
Most people that I know, that is what they do. Again, I'm a weirdo. I like being in person, especially with like an assistant type of role. I won't pick up the phone and just kind of like tell somebody that something needs to be done. Like I'd rather kind of just yell out and have the proximity there for me and everything.
Throw it on my planner.
Yeah, throw it on the planner. But whatever, man. I digress. So talk to me about like being a leader throughout stresses, throughout growth and decline. And
so this is important. I talk about this a lot. And here's something where I'm going to kind of like give you an example. And I think over the last 2 years, it's helped me a lot. We got farm animals, right? Farm animals don't care about nothing. They want to eat, they want to shit, and they want you to love them. So I think this whole concept of like fighting through stress, once I got these animals, started making me think differently. They don't give a fuck what happens in my day. They don't care how bad it is. They don't care if it's raining. They don't care if it's snowing. They don't care about anything. They just want to eat, shit, and be loved. So when I think about that, I think about the process of how I thought about things for many years is like, as a leader, you got to fight for things for people who want to eat, shit, and be loved. Your family, right? Like your family, you got to feed them. You know, they take a shit, whatever.
Sure do.
And they want to be loved, right? So you got to fill them, they empty themselves, and you got to fill them again. So you got to fill up their heart, you got to fill up their stomachs, and you got to fill up their brain. So the animal really brought that all into like perspective for me, where it's like, this is something I've always been doing. But now I'm starting to realize that these people, these animals that can't communicate with me, but they know I'm here. And the minute I'm here, the cow's mooing, the sheep are bad, right? And the goats are crying, whining. Like they know it's time to eat. And then they come up to you and they just want to be petted. And they know like, hey, like this is our time with you. And you do everything you got to do to make sure that they're taken care of. This is what we do for our family. A leader does for their family. I just put out a podcast about fathers, how fathers don't show up. And if they don't show up, they get fucking replaced. And they get replaced by women who say that your father's a shithead. They get replaced by other men. They get replaced by some of their friends' fathers who are present because they're not. And all a kid ever wants to do is see their parent, see their dad. Most importantly, like their dad goes out and works hard. Mom's always around. But when dad walks in, it's a different feeling, right? Because like mom's always there, but it's like we have this expectation of when dad's going to be home. And dad walks in the door and he's all pissy and moody, but we're excited to see him. And when does it come to the point where the kid's like, fuck you, right? So this is what leaders do. Leaders leave their emotion in the car, leave their battles in the office, and they walk in like nothing even fucking happened. But the average person can't think this way.
Yeah.
They want to bring their pain, their trauma to their family. Now their family suffers because they're fucking weak men.
It's the worst thing you can do.
And then weak men create weak children. And this is where life falls into a disaster. So leadership for me as a parent is super important so that my kids don't know when I'm struggling or why I'm struggling. But if they see something, I can explain to them what's going on and how we're going to get through it.
Yeah.
But it's nothing for them to worry about.
Yep.
Versus kicking, whining, screaming about what life's doing to me and being an asshole, which isn't going to do nothing for my kids. Same thing in business. Listen, bro, we got our fucking balls kicked in, but we got to walk in the office and be like, hey guys, what's up? What's going on?
Troops anyway.
We could have just had the most shitty phone call on the way. You could be getting sued for $1 million. Your employees don't give a fuck, dude.
Yep.
They want to eat, shit, and be loved, right? So that's everything in life works that way. And a good leader understands that.
Yep.
Everything that I'm going after needs to be loved and needs to eat. And as long as I do those two things, I'm delivering my best.
Yeah. Dude, that's deep.
Yeah.
That hits home for me, man.
I'm telling you, I just went out one day and I was gathering the hay to feed the animals. And they're just standing there. They're not crying. They're not being batshit crazy. They're just standing there like, all right, we're going to eat. He's going to feed us. You know, it's our time.
Yeah.
And they just walk over with you. And they're excited that you're there. You know, it's like having a dog, right? When you come home, the dog wags its tail because it's happy to see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about how many people walk in that house every day with that shitbag attitude. What happened at work? They bring it home. The dog's still wagging its tail because it doesn't fucking even understand what you're going through. It just wants to be loved. And you're like, get away from me, right? And you say the same thing to your spouse. You say the same thing to your kids. Leave me alone. What example are you setting?
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's another one of them things that it's like, well, it's not easy. But guess what? Nothing really is. Like, yeah, leadership's definitely not easy either, right? Because you have to put everyone else first.
Yeah. Well, if you think about like anything in life that's easy, it's oftentimes not worth it. It holds no value.
Yeah.
Everything that we have ever had to struggle through or grow through or get through that took some of us to get through it has always had a lot of value at the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
So if there's anything, if you're looking for easy, it's going to hold no value and you're just going to be resetting yourself every single day because you're really working towards nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
dude, so you said it was just last Friday that you sold a business.
yeah.
And how long had that business been operating?
Since 2017.
Wow. What was that like? Going through the sale process? Stressful, emotional, all the above?
Dealt with a few buyers, frustrating, but found the right one. And I don't know, dude, I just wanted it gone.
How long was the sale process?
Like 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Maybe
Gotcha.
a little longer. No, I think I started, like December.
Okay.
So a little, like 7 months.
Was that the first business that you've ever sold?
No, I sold another one before.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But this one was like the hardest to sell because like there was a lot of moving parts, right? So just being able to like be in sync and understand that's going to the right person. I'm able to walk away. I don't want to do it anymore. And knowing what I built is going to still be driving was most important for me because other people like equity companies were trying to buy it and change everything and do this kind of shit. And I didn't want to see that happen because I knew like the people who were working weren't going to have a job and, you know, whatever it was, you know, so I wanted to make sure that the well-oiled machine was just going to go from regular oil to synthetic. So now it lasts longer.
Gotcha.
You know, like how do we get this thing to be the best it can be, especially with my exit?
Damn.
And I could have got more money, but it wasn't about the money. It's about, because like, I feel like the reputation is going to live on beyond me. And people will always know like that was me versus like someone just being a shithead and trying to change everything, which could have just internally fucked it. Because then a lot of people aren't going to know,
Yeah.
you know, that it's gone or whatever, because it's still going to be up and operating.
Yeah.
So people are going to say, hey, how's business? And I'm, I got rid of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so you have to make sure that it's like everything else. Like the legacy you build lives long after you. So I built this thing for a reason. And there was a lot of hard sweat, tears, and, you know, pain through building this company.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to get rid of it was because I knew that it had the potential to almost 5X. But that was going to take a whole lot of me I wasn't willing to give. And I wanted to find somebody who wanted to do that.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to help them, you know, do that. But at the same time, like, I know that my direction that I need to be going is different. And all these different opportunities that have came my way with the coaching, the podcasting and all that, like, that's where I need to be. That's my lane, you know, and I'm being my best here because I've set myself up to work, you know, the right way. But for me to continue and get more clients and do more things, it would only be fair if I got rid of something that was maybe holding some of that time that I didn't have available versus all the other coaches out there, which will take everyone's money and try to filter them in and do everything. I want to make sure I have the time, which I do now, and the availability to serve the way I need to serve versus looking at the money.
So what's that perfect situation? What's that perfect scenario like in terms of like that business with coaching? Like, is it a number of clients or like a amount of impact measurable with the client that you want to have? Like, what's that look like?
I think so. I've been coaching for 5 years now, and I think that my price goes up because my value goes up, and you just keep getting better at your craft. And then as I get a more expensive coach, like I start becoming better myself, and I can deliver better. And now, being in a space that I'm at now, I know that in the next 5 years, I'm going to be a lot more expensive than I am right now. But I won't continue to grow, nor will I continue to have clients unless I take the point of where I am right now and make sure that every single person I work with is getting results.
Absolutely.
I can only deliver what I can deliver. It's going to be up to them to do the work. But I haven't had a person yet being like, bro, you sold me short.
Right.
I've always had people being like, sorry, I can't do this, or sorry, whatever, because again, they're making excuses and I don't buy the excuses and I tell them, and that's what happens. We kind of like let life take a toll, and that's where it is. But
yeah,
some people take it serious. Some people don't.
Yeah.
But no one's ever told me that I haven't delivered what I said I was going to deliver.
Well, and to your point earlier of like just a high price tag usually means people are going to pay attention and everything. Yeah. Like the most that I ever paid a coach for like a single issue, like it was basically like a 12-week kind of one-on-one, have an hour a week with this coach and everything. And dude, I paid 20 grand for it, and it was to solve one issue. And ultimately what he told me, I was probably going to do anyway, but that was the best 20 grand I ever spent. Because if I didn't do that, I was ready to blow up my business at that time. And it's like, dude, I was like, that business was doing $2 million a year at that point, and I was about to blow it up over some stupid fucking issues that I was basically able to solve with some reassurance from a coach who had walked that path before, done the things that I had to kind of get through and everything. And it gave me the clarity and confidence to just make the decisions that I kind of needed to do anyway.
Yeah.
But that was money well spent. Now, other people would be like, oh, well, what did the coach tell you? And it's like, I would tell them and they'd be like, you paid that for that? It's like, yeah, absolutely. I would make that trade any day of the week, you know?
People keep people in check, right? So people don't realize, like Michael Jordan, right? Had Tim Grover, right? Tim Grover coached Michael Jordan to be exceptional and be his absolute best. Michael Jordan was good, but Tim Grover made him great. And we only look at the lane that we see. We can't see the other side because we always have our blinders on. And a coach comes in and he says, hey, listen, like, you're just a little bit to the left or you're a little bit to the right. Like, we need to straighten you out here. But sometimes we'll never see that ourselves because we're so focused on where we're going and we don't see the communication error. We don't see the business error. We don't see the little things that one little change, like you said, makes the world of difference.
Yep.
One little change. I can work with somebody for 12 months and they only make one change, but that one change will take them from $1 million to $3 million.
Yep. Absolutely, man. So who is like the demographic that you are best positioned to serve?
Anyone with a service-based business. Anyone who's going to have like any kind of a construction company. I've worked with doctors. I've worked with a guy who owned a few like grocery stores. Like anyone who's servicing people, but at the same time like in their business too much. How do I get you out of your business? I've worked with, realtors, because realtors, like, they just think like the more shit they put online, the more noise they put, the more they're going to get, so it's anybody really who needs to go out there and drive something to get a result. I've worked with a dentist before who was, had a major problem. I think typically any type of business is relatable. For me, I won't work in like the restaurant business because I don't really know much about the restaurant business. But let's say that you had like a pizzeria, 3 pizzerias, and you're like imbalanced and you're flustered and you can't figure this. I could help you with that. But if you own like a big major restaurant, like that's not my space. Yeah. If you own a car dealer, I probably can't help you. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like anyone who's in like a service-based business where they're delivering something to somebody and they either are working by themselves or have other people and just want to grow, I just got to figure out what the root problem is And I always usually do within the first conversation.
Yeah.
And then we just help them grow on that.
Well, probably 99.9% of the time, the problem is the fucking business owner himself. Like we can't get out of our own way, you know?
Well, business owners make up, what I've found is business owners make up lies that they let themselves believe. And they allow those lies to dictate the scale of their company. And they watch other people.
I'm in agreement with that. Yeah,
They watch
for
other
sure.
people, let's say, who are like maybe competitors and have a bigger company or doing bigger things and are trying to figure out what they're doing versus figure out what they're not doing. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, dude. I love that. I love that.
So I just really help people evaluate themselves. First problem is them. Second problem is they're in their business too much, and they're like their business is like their nesting egg, right? Like they're just watching over the egg, and they don't want to let the egg grow or hatch.
Yeah.
And your business will never grow to its full potential unless you let it hatch.
Right.
You know, everyone talks about. I mean, you probably know so many people who talk about like, oh, one day I'm gonna have this business, that business, this business, that business. Bro, you can't even figure out your first business.
Yeah.
You know, you're never gonna get out of your own way.
Yep.
Or a lot of people just get stuck at like $100,000. Like there's a lot of small businesses, like believe it or not, that make like $100,000. And the amount of time that they're putting into their business, dude, they're getting paid like $8 an hour.
Yep.
And when I start showing these people this shit, like there's this dude who owns a clothing line and like he sells clothes and like hats and shit. And 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. Took his revenue, took the amount of money he's paying out, his expenses. Homie's making $11.20 an hour. I go, bro, is it worth it? You get paid less than a fucking McDonald's employee.
Yeah, man.
But I go, dude, you look like shit. You're working around the clock. For what? Because this is all you know?
Yeah.
But you're going to run yourself to the grave. And the minute you stop working, you stop processing income.
Yeah.
And it's over. It's over.
Yeah, man.
So most businesses need to figure out how to get their engines to operate without their foot on the pedal.
I love that, man.
And that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely
It's
is.
like right when you have a child, your kid's 13, you said? Or is 13?
Yeah, I have a 13, 7, and 3.
So a 13-year-old, when she becomes a driver at 16, you're going to be terrified to let her drive. Mm-hmm. She's going to have her permit. You're still going to want to drive everywhere because you're going to be scared to get in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Now you're in the passenger seat. Now it's time for her to get her license. And now she's going to go out there and drive.
Yep.
And your most terrifying thing is letting her go out. Mm-hmm. Because you're so worried about, but dude, she's been watching you for 16 years, how you drive, what you do. If you're always on your phone, she's going to always be on her phone. If you're not paying attention,
Oh man, she's screwed.
if you're speeding all the time, these are the things that we're teaching our kids. So our kids' driving patterns are basically like ours.
Yeah.
You know, but we're scared to let them go. But once we let them go, it's like, oh wow, they're good.
Yep.
And we're checking their location. Where are they? You know, what are they doing? Right. But it's the same thing in business. We don't want to let go. We don't want to like let anything happen without us doing it.
It's the scariest thing. Yeah. It's the scariest thing, you know, because it's the unknown, right? And still to this day, a lot of things. Now I'm better now. Now I'm kind of just like whatever, just run with it. But for the longest time, like I don't know, man. It was just a fear, right? That just something was going to get messed up. And it took things being messed up many times for me to accept that things aren't always going to be perfect. They're not going to be the way that I would do them. But a lot of times, once you get on the other end of it, things are actually better than the way that you would have done them, right? Like I have OCD like a motherfucker, right? Yeah. It's like, you're not going to do it the same way as me. And in reality, no, you might actually do it a hell of a lot better than
and
me,
faster.
man, you know, and faster.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand in business. There's so many people that we as a business owners and as entrepreneurs, we wear many hats. But there's so many people who wear one of our hats so good.
Really well. Yep.
And if we can figure those people out, the dividends will multiply.
Yep.
And I think the biggest and most selfish thing that most business owners say, man, if I could just have another one of me. You fucking suck, believe it or not. I suck at certain things.
Lots of things.
I'm good at one or two things, but in my mind, when I said that maybe 15 years ago, I thought I was good at everything. But like you said, you realize, oh, it's not going to be as good as me, but wow, it's even better. So now how selfish is it for you to be like, oh, my way or no way, because my way is best. But wow, there's a different way and it's providing more than I can deliver.
Yep.
So business owners, like they live on this high horse where they think they're the greatest gift. And if they could just duplicate themselves, bro, you duplicate yourselves, nothing's going to happen.
Yep.
You've got to multiply what's inside of you and get it outside of you by division and dividing up all the things that you're doing and get it out so that you can multiply your best efforts to yield the best results.
Dude, I love that. I love that. It's just my mind goes so many different places, like just thinking through all this and growth and like the journey that I had along the way. And it's just how much you have to kind of transform as an individual as you're going through scaling a company, hiring people for the first time, putting systems and processes in place. Because it's like, you know, it's the epitome of slowing down to speed up, right? Like it's frustrating as shit. It's scary to bring in your first person and everything. And now it's like, whatever the number is, your business can be doing 100,000, a million. It doesn't matter what the number is. The reality is you're probably going to slow down and revenue is going to drop while you're setting up this new person, this new system, this new process and everything. And that's probably why most people don't do it. They don't want to slow down. That feels like the opposite of progress. Like I've worked so fucking hard to get here. And now you're telling me like I can't do $100,000 months anymore. Now I got to drop down to 50. This sucks.
But you know, what's cool. Like now with CRMs, like people could literally be trained without you doing anything. So I had a couple of new people come in over the last year and my CRM that I had a trainer that I paid for an extra, like whatever, $200 a month. That was available to my entire team. I told that trainer what I wanted, how I wanted it done. That trainer trained the team. Because listen,
badass.
As a business owner, you tell your team what you want to do. And if they fall short, they fall short. And they go, this is the best I can do. And they deliver what they deliver. But if you have somebody else who's holding them accountable to what you need them to do, like this trainer, there's no other standard. This is it. This is how it gets done. This is the way he wants it done. I'm going to teach you how to do it. We're going to continue to be connected, and I'm going to make sure you're doing it the way he wants it done. Bro, self-generating income by a system
it's a beautiful
that
thing.
I didn't even create.
Beautiful thing.
You know, so I'm telling you, bro, implementing systems and processes in businesses, fucking the best.
Yeah.
The best. And I tell people, they're like, oh, it's $500 a month. I go, it'd be the best fucking employee you ever had.
Yeah. Don't care. Yeah. I don't care
You'll
what it
shit
costs.
$500 at a restaurant, but you won't pay it for your business.
Yep.
People are stupid.
Short-sighted, man. I already know what your take is going to be because you were showing me some of the social media stuff and integrating AI into what you're doing and everything. But how do you think, big picture, about AI and how important it is to people or businesses or entrepreneurs?
So AI is like going to be your best friend, almost like your best sidekick. So for me, messages, emails, I could literally just talking to my phone and it knows what I want, how I want to deliver it, punctuation's right. It's not making me a story. It's telling it the way I need to say it without sending 10 emails at one time, right? So AI saves a ton of time, saves a ton of money, and it gets the point across a lot better, and it allows you to be more efficient.
Hell yeah.
And outside of that, I told all my employees that AI is going to be your MVP, your most valuable person, because it's going to be you, but on like auto fast, like super fast, get things done. So like all their computers have their AI on there, and if they have to talk and do a message, it's like, listen, instead of you thinking about it, just hit the record button on your computer, talk, and say, make this into an email for me. And every customer has their own tab. Just hit that customer's tab, and it talks into it, and it knows the back conversation. It knows how it's going to go, and it makes it go smoothly versus you being like, oh, did I write that already? Did I not write that already? How do I write this? And like typing shit, dude, copy and paste, copy and paste. So I think that it's taking over everything.
Yep.
I think some of the image stuff is bullshit and crazy, like the things that they're coming out with. But
Like what? What do you mean?
like the fake cars and the fake images of people and all of the dumb shit that it's making, like the stupid videos, like the fucking gorilla shit going on right now.
Yeah.
But I think that's all like great. But I think every time there's something good, there's got to be like a toy with it. You know what I mean? For the masses.
Of course.
But then the real people are using the real parts of AI and what it can do. But AI helps me huge. It puts a lot of things into perspective. It builds platforms for me. It builds websites for me. It builds my CRMs for me. It builds whatever I need it to build for me.
Yep.
Based on how it knows me. And I've been able to train it based on how I do business, how I want business to be, and everything. And it's been my best asset in the last 2 years. And I literally use it all day.
Yeah, man.
Every day, all day.
Dude, me too. Me too. I love it. And I just made a post about this the other day. Like I was doing something the other night and my kids, my 7-year-old and 3-year-old, basically we're having a voice chat with ChatGPT and they're asking it questions and everything. And I kind of just had this like aha moment as I was sitting there listening to them ask AI questions. It's like, it just kind of hit me that the most important thing is not knowledge, right? Like, bless you. We've always had access to information, like ever since even before Google and the internet, right? It's like we had books, right? Yeah, it's like information was always there. The information is more accessible now, but it kind of highlighted to me at that moment, like, dude, the most important thing is knowing how to ask the right questions, you know? Like
that's
if you
why
know
you
how
train.
to ask the
That's
right
why you
questions,
train your AI. You could tell when someone's like using AI and sending you a message. It's so like generic. It's such bullshit, and it's not them. Like I literally sent. Inputted so many, uploaded so many emails and so many text conversations to AI, and I go, "This is how I talk. This is how I do. Ask me any questions you need." And every 30 days, I tell it to like, just kind of let's get refocused here on how you need to know me better, what's changing, what do you see, what kind of patterns do you see?
Yep.
And it just tells me everything I need to know on how I need to change and how I can do things better. But I think the biggest thing is training your AI to be you versus it not to be you, because like sending a message to someone and like how you write, like they're like, that's not you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you could tell a lot of this shit, like when people post it on social media, you're like, that was AI.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Dude, it's funny. I often write long ass like posts on Facebook and everything because I enjoy copywriting. Like I wrote emails for my company for years, right? It's like I'm good at it. And in the last 6 months, I've had a bunch of dickheads accusing me of using ChatGPT to write them long posts. I'm like, nah, bro. I've been doing this long before AI was a thing, right? It's like I like copywriting, you know? But to that point, one of the things that I did do to just see how good it could be, I used Manus AI and I downloaded every post that I've ever written on Facebook for the last 2 years, downloaded all of it, imported it into there. And I didn't want to use that as like the platform because I like ChatGPT, man. So I basically imported all that. I said, analyze all of it and make a training document for another AI service to be able to write in my voice. And it did an incredible job. What is still missing is like, from the lens of social media or whatever, it's like most of the time when I share something, it's related to something that just happened in my life and I saw an insight and I'm able to relate and like tie previous stories to it and everything. So it can write in my voice, but it's still not going to have the experiences that I've never shared before, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really leverage it,
why
but it's cool because it works.
Yeah, that's why I like talking into AI too, because it hears your tone, it hears how you're doing it. If you say something in a pissed off tone, AI it reads it. You seem aggravated right now.
Yep.
So I think it's a change, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, fuck AI! I'm not going to use AI." You're just going to be so far behind. It's like the people who didn't want to text.
Yep.
The people who didn't want a regular phone from a flip phone.
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, like you're not stopping it. And when I showed some of the people like that worked for me, AI, they were like, "Holy shit." And I'm like, dude, you know how much easier and simpler and less stressful your job would be if you just like literally let this do all the work for you?
Yeah.
Just talking to it.
Well, the immediate thought by most people is, oh my God, this is going to take my job. You're showing me this, and it just did my job. It did what I do in an 8-hour day, and it just did it in 8 seconds. You're going to fire me.
No, I'm just going to expect more from you now.
That's where expectations and communication are key, right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like, yeah, no, I want you to use this. I want you to raise the bar and output more with less effort.
I think a lot of times too, when people write their own emails and they write their own text messages, they have emotion behind it, like how they're doing it. So sometimes it's not going to come across correctly, and they're writing it, so they're not then rereading it. They're just sending it. So what's cool about AI is like it asks you how you want to write it.
Yeah.
Is this good? Do you want me to change the tone? You want this to be deeper, whatever. And it allows you to get to the exact place of where you want to get within seconds of you even trying to write it yourself, then reread it, then retype it. You know?
Yep.
So
One of the questions that I asked you in the pre-interview questions was, what advice would you give to somebody 2 years before where you're at today? What are your thoughts on that?
2 years where I'm at right now. I think just believe you can be there. So if I look at the last, since 2018, so the last 7 years of my life, I've predicted everything that was going to happen to me. I just had to catch up to it. So from the place I live, to the things I drive, to the things I do, to the business I have, to everything, I saw it all coming, and I believed it was there. I've always believed I can achieve things, and I believe that was a major tool for why I have achieved things. But the last 7 years, like after my divorce, I really just put myself in a place where I was like, this is going to happen, and I put things into reality. Like these things are going to happen. I just had to catch up, and I can see the next 2 years. Like I know where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I just have to catch up. So a lot of people have a pipe dream of what they want, but I know what I deserve.
Dude, that's so powerful. And that probably seems like a barely difference between what you said, right? Like what I want and what I deserve. It's like, that's the same thing. No,
It's
man,
not.
there's a powerful difference.
Yeah. Because you could want a lot of things. Like, I want a Lambo one day. Oh, I want a nice house one day. Oh, I want to get married one day. But you deserve it.
Yeah.
And if you believe you deserve something, there's just this ultimate click where it just kind of happens to you. You know, from the people I meet. Like I just talk and I journal every day about the things I'm grateful for and the people I meet. And I ask to like introduce me to the right people, put me in front of the right opportunities, show me what's next, guide me. And I ask to be put in these places where I literally show up versus just like hoping something happens. You know, I don't hope that anything happens. I strive to make them happen, you know, and listen, there's going to be a bumpy road throughout it. But I totally know that, like, I was driving here today and I was just thinking about like, getting rid of the company and where I am. And in the process of trying to get rid of the company, it's like, is this going to happen? When's this going to happen? And I was going through so much turmoil in the last 2 years, like turmoil, like shit, dude, that people would give up on. But my life good outweighs the bad. And regardless, even if the bad outweighed the good, I know that there's good on the other side. So I continue to fight for everything I want in my life to happen based on how I believe it should happen. And I think that too many people like have these like fake ideas of what life should really be like without the understanding of fighting to get there. You don't deserve anything unless you go through the trenches to get there. And you're never going to get anything unless you fight for it.
Yeah, man.
But knowing that you deserve to have something in your life or be a part of your life makes the fight that much easier.
I love that. That's powerful, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. I think this has been an awesome conversation. Tell people about the podcast that you run.
Yeah, so I have two podcasts. I have the Big D podcast. that you can find me on Instagram at _ Big Dan Official. That's the Big D podcast. It's a mindset podcast. Talks about business, fatherhood. It's pretty strong for men, like driven to men. Just about like stop being a bitch and go after things. And, you know, you're going to go through shit. Talks about all my life experiences, all I've been through, all my hardships. Like I'm 100% vulnerable and honest on all this. But at the same time, I speak of truth and I speak of experience versus most other people out there don't. And then I have the Intrepidus podcast. That's a podcast. That's a Latin word of fear. We talk about what kind of fears business owners have, people of significance, fighters, sports players, business owners, whoever it is. We invite them on the podcast. We ask them a bunch of questions. And that's really to help the next guy, you know, the next person who wants to be in business, the next person who's maybe has the idea and just doesn't have the urge to like go through the fight, to go through it, you know, just say, oh, this is the disciplines. These are the things I did. This is how I did it. These are fears I had. And there's a commonality between the person who hasn't started and the person who's doing it. And we just try to get that resource out there so that we can help the next guy, you know, go after his dream, the next girl go after their dream. And we're doing very well with that. We're like 50 episodes deep in that. And it's good. I mean, every single person that's been on our show, we've always gotten feedback from someone in the audience or someone else based on the value that they've brought to the show. So that's the important thing. We just try to impact one life with every episode, and we know we've done our job. And I do the same thing with mine. Like, as long as you can get one life impacted, I'll get a DM, like some dude will be like, bro, like I just heard this, or like send me a screenshot of Spotify, like this is fire, or like, hey bro, I've been listening to your podcast, like I've been following you for a long time. Like that's the shit that I need.
Yeah, man.
Because that's all I'm driving for.
Absolutely.
It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's about the result that somebody else can get from the information that I'm providing. So that's the podcast. And then my biggest platform that they'll find me on is Instagram. Very active on Instagram. But I'm on everything. TikTok, dansachkowsky.com. They can check out everything. All my social links are there. Everything's on there. I have a free 7-day blueprint to help people who are maybe stuck. It's just a challenge for 7 days to get you unstuck and get you back in gear for where you need to be your best self.
I love that. And that's all on your website.
That's all on my website, yeah.
Sweet. Fantastic. We'll link all of the links in the show notes and everything. Awesome. And dude, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I appreciate this. It's cool hearing about your journey. And just, again, I love the mindset and the perseverance and everything, because it's not an easy journey, and it's not going to be an easy journey. Like, to anybody listening that is early on in your journey, it's like, be very clear. You're going to eat a lot of shit. You're going to deal with a lot of headache and heartache. And if you don't have the right mental foundation, you're going to crumble.
That's why I love it too. And in closing, I just talk about my kids now are entrepreneurs. My boys, 20 and 21, so almost 21, 19 and 20. They're entrepreneurs now. They're in business, and just watching their mental toughness, watching them go through it. Like, there's nothing more satisfying for a father, yet an entrepreneur father, to watch their kids go through the things that they've went through, but to know that they're going to fight to be their best. My oldest son says, I will never have a job. You know, and he knows what he's got to fight for. He knows he wants to do. He wants this, and this. He's so systematically organized, which I wasn't at his age. But he, you know, the things and the motions that these guys have in place today, they're going to be 10 times more successful than I ever was, you know, within the time frame, because of what's available. Yeah. You know, what they don't have to figure out. And just watching that and being a part of that, I mean, that's so fulfilling. And I think as a father, you know, we always want like our kids to be our best, but seeing like being an entrepreneur and seeing your kids being an entrepreneur is fucking fire, bro. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Dude, I totally understand. It's hilarious because my daughter, again, 13 years old, I think she's on like her third business venture already. And the one that frustrated me, man, she started a YouTube channel like a year ago. Bro, she got to like 5,000 subscribers in a month. I'm like, what the hell? I show people how to make millions of dollars in real estate, and I got like a couple hundred. What's going on, you know? But no, you're absolutely
She's
right.
cuter than you.
Yeah, well, there's definitely that. But watching other people, you know, come into who they're supposed to be is super fulfilling. Again, that's one of the main reasons that I do this podcast and everything. Yep. To your point of having people reach out and say that you made a difference and you made an impact, and help them grow their business or remove an obstacle that they thought they had in front of them or something like that. It makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks.